Thank you, Dr. Shea. Dear colleagues, thank you. Thank you so very much for being here today, for taking time off. For some of you, it's still vacation time. And for some of you who are attending some of our professional development and some of our trainings, thank you for being here, making the time. Today, we want to share with you some of the key highlights of the upcoming school year. As we know, some of us are still trying to figure out what's next. However, in the Oxnard School District, we are trying to be, as much as possible, prepared for the next school year. I can share with you that the team, and when I talk about the team, I'm talking about the entire team in the central office and at the site level as well, have been working diligently so that within the next 2 weeks, we are ready to welcome our children. We are definitely coming back in person. We are definitely coming back to see and to talk and interact with our students on a daily basis. There are few regulations, restrictions. However, we are trying to mirror as much as possible the regular school year pre-pandemic. And today you will hear some of the changes and some of the adjustments that we have made so that we are welcoming our students and we will welcome you. So again, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being ready. Thank you for being open. And thank you for your willingness to provide our students the best environment that we can under these circumstances. We are eager, we are ready, and we will be working with you. Today, you will have some details about the back to school. You will hear from Dr. DeGenna, our Assistant Superintendent for Ed Services, about the instructional program. Dr. Torres will be sharing with you some changes in the COVID-19 procedures or prevention of COVID-19 procedures. And we will have also members of the business office sharing with you some areas related to transportation or nutrition services. Without further ado, again, thank you. Carlin Aguilera Ford, Superintendent of the Schools, is welcoming you. And now I would like to pass over to Dr. DeGenna, who will talk about the instructional program. Thank you and welcome again.
Excuse me for just 1 second, Dr. DeGenna. Thank you, Dr. Aguilera, for it. There are some people who have raised hands. During this webinar, we will not address questions through raised hands. Please type your question into the Q&A for us to be able to support you. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues. And for those of you that have been on summer break, welcome back. We hope you had a wonderful, restful, and healthy summer, and we are excited to welcome you back to the 21-22 school year. For those of you that have been with us during the summer, I know how much hard work has gone into preparing our schools so that our students can return to in-person learning. So thank you very much for that. As we move forward for the 21-22 school year, we are so excited to share that our instructional program will resume to what it was to the pre-COVID schedules. That means that you will be able to run your classrooms as we did prior to the pandemic, including small group instruction, grouping students for math or language arts or any other content area. In addition to that, recess will resume as it was. Students will be allowed to go out on the playground, and we will not in the classroom be using desk shields. School schedules will be full-time, and hours for our schools at this time have not changed. They are what they were prior to the pandemic, and those could be found on the district and school web pages. Though we are returning to instructional programs and schedules as they were before the pandemic, before we had school closures, there are many things that we have learned during this time that we also want to continue to implement in our instructional program. Included in that is Canvas. We will continue to use Canvas as our student management system moving forward. And we will continue to use Lexia Core and ST Math to support our students' instructional needs. Next slide, please. There's a lot of information in terms of what is that going to look like. And so, as you know, for our certificated staff, our teachers in particular, we are looking forward to welcoming you back next week, August 17th, 18th, and 19th. During this time, we have a robust professional development plan for you. And you see on the screen some of the areas that we'll be covering. That will include our cultural proficiency, our new standards-based report cards for our grades kinder through 5th. We will be working on mathematical pedagogy and mindset. We will be working on Canvas and how Canvas supports all of our instructional programs. Our teachers in physical education will be receiving particular training in that area. We will also be focusing on the use of Panorama as our social and emotional platform. We'll have some information for you on STOIC, on literacy, and on positive behavior support. So that seems like a great deal to cover in 3 days. Please know that you will not all be covering this, that we've really worked hard to ensure that the training that you receive and the professional development opportunities are really geared to what you are teaching and to your grade level. So starting tomorrow, please be on the lookout for an email from me. And on that email, I will send you both your grade level assignments, where you and your grade levels will be on which day and receiving which content, as well as an overview of the entire 3 days of professional learning. We have all of our consultants ready to go and are really looking forward to 3 full days of tremendous learning. So if you have any questions in regards to that, please feel free to reach out prior to the 17th, 18th, and 19th. Next slide, please. First day of school, as you all know now, is August 24th, 2021. And we will welcome all of our students back. You, as I mentioned before, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, you will be in professional development sessions. On the 20th, you will have your site level sit day, and on the 23rd, that Monday, have an opportunity to have your prep day. And this is again for certificated teaching staff. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I'll turn it over to Dr. Nacero to share some of the changes that have happened over this summer in terms of legislation and program offerings for our students.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Over the summer, actually just at the beginning of July, our governor signed into legislation mandated independent study for school districts for this upcoming school year. Parents or guardians can request independent study for health-related reasons. Information will be posted, it says it is posted right now, will be posted on the website Thursday. Starting Thursday. Prior to students engaging in independent study, there is a requirement for parents and teachers and students to have a conference to review the requirements and the guidelines for independent study. And independent study, per AB 130 and good practice, must be content aligned to grade level standards. Next slide, please. There are some new definitions that come with AB 130. Live interaction is something that you will hear. Live interaction is live interaction between a student and LEA personnel. So district personnel, whether it's certificated or classified. So it can be with the teacher, it can be with the counselor, it can be with the ORC. Synchronous instruction is the live teaching, live interaction teaching. So, and that has to be with the teacher on record. So there's a difference between the live interaction and the synchronous instruction. And then pupil parent educator conference. Again, pupil parent educator, but it also includes if we have a student who is connecting with a counselor, you know, on a regular basis, or with the ORC on the regular basis, that person is also included in that conference. So as we move on through independent study, if we find that a student may be having trouble connecting, then that counselor or that ORC would be part of that conference that we're having to provide supports for students who are engaging in independent study. Next slide, please. The guidelines for AB 130 are pretty specific in terms of daily interaction. So for students in TK3, students are required, and we are required to provide daily synchronous instruction for all students throughout the year. And in grades 4-8, daily live interaction and at least weekly synchronous instruction. But that daily live interaction portion for every student is outlined in AB 130. Just the grade level spans look a little different in terms of what is required for each of those grade level spans. Next slide, please. There are some other requirements that we've built into the master agreement for students, and one of those is measures of satisfactory educational progress. So just like in your classroom, we will hold students accountable to make educational progress, and we will continue to progress monitor students in that manner. Tiered re-engagement strategies. So when students are not turning in work or not engaging in the daily live interaction or daily synchronous instruction, then we are obligated to have those re-engagement strategies, whether it is calls to parents, and after a certain number of missing assignments or missing days, actually engaging in a conference with the child and the teacher and the parent and other staff to see what we might be able to do. And after repeated, then coming in for one of the an evaluation meeting to evaluate whether or not independent study is the appropriate program for the child. So there are tiered re-engagement strategies. Process for swift transition out of independent study. Once a child is in the program, if the parent requests for a transition to in-person instruction, we are obligated to do that within 5 days of the request. So if we request it, if I request it as a parent on Monday, we need to have a plan to get that student back into in-person instruction within 5 days. Different supports for students. So if a student is having, academic issues or, social emotional issues, supports for students. So if we need to hold, a meeting to look at those, SST meeting, to look at what supports we might be able to put in place, we're obligated to do that. Provision of connectivity and devices. So if a student is in independent study and needs a hotspot, then providing that hotspot. Provisions for communicating academic progress and on a regular basis, communicating with parents, just as we would. Students with an IEP or a 504 plan cannot participate in the independent study program unless it is written into the IEP or the 504 plan. So if I am a parent and of a student who is receiving services through special education or a 504, we have to hold an IEP meeting or a 504 plan meeting to write that into, the offer of fate or the 504 plan, because for special ed, it is a change of placement, change of program. And then we are obligated to document participation in live interaction and synchronous instruction daily, and maintain evidence of that pupil engagement through audits and things like that. So we will document participation and attendance. That is.
Thank you, Dr. Nacero. There are some questions that have come up that Dr. DeGenna would like us to answer live. Dr. Torres will be with you in just a second.
Dr. Shea, Dr. Torres is going to take these questions.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Okay.
So would you like me to read the questions, or do you want us to just speak to it generally?
Go ahead, you can read the question.
Who will teach independent study? Will it be offered by OSD teachers or outside agencies?
Okay, so in regards to the independent study positions, currently we are in negotiations with OEA in regards to the effects of such a position. So hopefully within the next couple of days, we will have a better understanding of what exactly the OSD or the independent study position will look like.
Will teachers be in charge of the independent study students, or will they be assigned to a specific teacher?
Well, you know, in regards to the independent study, I know typically we've had like a home hospital type of independent study where the teacher of record would normally have additional hours or something like that to support that student. Because of the requirements of AB 130, this position would require a little bit more robust type of instruction, direct instruction, as well as check-in. So right now, as I indicated right now with OEA, we are looking at creating a position, but we're working in regards to what that position would look like.
Thank you. If a student starts in person, can they switch to independent study?
Yes, we will be able, the students will have the opportunity to switch to independent study if at the parent's request. And, you know, as indicated, if the student is an independent study and is looking to come back into the classroom, we do have a 5-day window to accommodate them.
Thank you, Dr.
And if you have, I'm sorry, if I can just add to that really quickly. And if you, if parents request independent study, there's a process that we will have to follow. So they will need to contact the central office, let your principals know, and they will know how to direct the information to us so that we are able to make sure that we sign contracts and go through the process and the requirements. So there is a process in getting them into independent study. If students are students with special education that receive special education services, it will require an IEP because it is considered a change of placement. So please inform, if parents connect with you about that, please inform your principals right away so that we can start the process.
Thank you both for addressing those questions. The after-school program will continue to operate this year. It will be in person. Last year, the program ran virtually. And the programs will run from the end of the school day until 6 p.m. Applications are still available online for families who would like to apply. And families should be notified sometime this week of their acceptance to the after-school program. Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Ginger. Hello. So as far as technology for the new school year, we are keeping a list of all of our newly enrolled students. That's all of our TKK and students in all grades. And we are sending out iPads to the sites so that they can be checked out to the students the first couple of days of school. We're going to continue the use of Canvas, ST Math, and Lexia as a part of our adopted curriculum. And a note on damaged iPads: if you have students that have damaged iPads, they simply need to return it to the tech, and the tech will replace them for them on the spot. As far as Wi-Fi hotspots, we did not collect them. The students still have them. They have been active. We never shut the service off. So if a student has one, they may keep it. We will simply send out a letter for them to recheck it out again for this school year. If they no longer need it, we are going to ask them to return it to us. And applications should be available up on the district website by next week for those that are interested in receiving an iPad that did not do so last year.
Mr. Briscoe.
Good afternoon. So transportation will resume with the new school year. Masks will continue to be worn by students that are 2 years and older. There are some exceptions for students who have medical reasons. Parents did need to register for transportation by August 9th, but they can still do so. Depending on the bus stop, there may be a delay and they may not receive that transportation until the second week of school if they register after the 9th. Bus passes will be required of all students. Bus passes will be issued the first 2 weeks of school by transportation staff. So So that first 2 weeks, they won't be required to have the pass, but transportation staff will issue those bus passes. Parents will be notified of transportation schedules on the 17th, and parents can view their student schedule via the Ride 360 webpage, Ride 360 app, or they can call transportation service offices and we'll let them know what their schedule is. District staff can view student bus schedules at the traversatylertech.com website. And if you need a user or password, if you want to view that information, you can contact transportation for a username and password. Also, to get to that webpage, you can go to the district staff page on the Oxford School District webpage to connect to that webpage.
Thank you, Mr. Briscoe. Ms. Lugatoff?
Good afternoon. Several years ago, the state implemented the local control funding formula, and you may know it as LCFF. That changed how school districts are funded. Qualification for LCFF revenue is established through the family eligibility form. Child Nutrition Services will be processing the LCFF income forms that are completed by our families. Each school site front office partners with the Nutrition Services Department to ensure that all completed forms are returned, one form per family. There are two paths for families to access the document. One is through the district webpage, through the LCFF link on the front page of the OSD website. There, parents can complete the form electronically. Secondly, parents can complete a hard copy of the form that was sent in the back to school packet. For those families that completed the hard copy form, they should be returned to the front office. Our goal is to achieve a 100% return rate to ensure full district funding from the state and continue our practice of providing all meals and snacks at no charge to our students. Thank you in advance for partnering with Child Nutrition Services to complete the project and have the forms turned in by September 29th. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So, one of the big questions are, volunteers on campus, and we all know how valuable those volunteers are to the instructional program. However, one of the things that we are looking at is, at this point in time, unless it is to conduct essential business on campus, volunteers should not be on campus. So if they are going to come on campus, they still have to follow the screening rules. We will still maintain our tables out there with masks and hand sanitizer. And everyone will be required to wear a mask when they are on a school campus, when students are present. So like I said, they would all still be required to sign in. And so what's considered essential, what we're looking at is, ELAC meetings, school site councils, some PTA meetings, and other events that might be required. So it's important that as much as possible to minimize the total number of events on campus, unless, they are really, really required. If it's something that we can move out and place, do a Zoom or something, let's just continue to do that as much as possible. And now face masks, as you see over here on number B, it says face mask coverings will be required unless they are outdoors. And then classroom and office visitors will not be permitted until further notice. Next. Okay, so some of the preventive measures, we have not changed a lot of our preventive measures from last year when we went out on break. But in regards to a vaccination, we strongly encourage all of our employees and students 12 and over to get the vaccine. So to help prevent against the virus. And, again, we still encourage everyone to wash your hands frequently, cover your mouth and nose, as well as we're encouraging our students to actually bring our refillable water bottles. We have the water fountains out there that you can go ahead and refill your bottles. Next. Okay, face coverings. Okay, so in regards to our face coverings, right now, when you are on a school grounds, on a campus, when students are present, face coverings will be required for students and adults, regardless of whether you're vaccinated, your vaccination status, unless you are when you're eating or when you're drinking. And when you're outdoors, face coverings are optional. So in PE or if you're outdoor activities. But face coverings will be required for adults and students, regardless of their vaccination status. If you're on a bus, and all students and who refuse to wear masks, they will be subject to discipline process, both for the campus and for the employee under the health and safety requirements. So next, screening. So right now we will be looking at a passive screening, just as we were before we went on break. We would require our parents to go ahead, check the temperatures, and check in, making sure that their students or their children are not sick. And we will, as indicated, we will still continue to have our tables set up at the school sites for employees. We would have masks there, hand sanitizers, and employees, again, are required to perform their daily health screening check at home before they come onto campus. And, at the end of the day, if you're sick, stay home. Okay. So the care room, we will continue to have the care rooms at each of the school sites. And over the summer, we went ahead and we hired additional health technicians to help to support each one of the campuses. So pretty much all campuses should have a health technician or a health assistant to help support COVID-related activities at the sites. Physical distancing as the new requirements. In general, there is no physical distancing requirements at this point in time. And one of the things is the desk shields are no longer required. So we will not have the desk shields on the desk. And they just were very cumbersome also and prevented students from seeing the screen. So we went ahead and we are going to eliminate that. And sharing of objects and materials. Obviously we have come a long way since, the beginning of the pandemic. So research is suggesting that we're at very low risk of transmission of COVID by surface or touch. Students will be able to share materials, supplies, and related instructional equipment and devices. We will have sanitizer in the classroom. So just like anything, you always want to still make sure that you're sanitizing your hand and wiping your hands as much as possible and cleaning. And as indicated, the hand sanitizer station, hand washing stations, and students will be encouraged to participate in healthy hand sanitizing habits. So we will continue all of these efforts that we've engaged in prior to going on break.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, are you here?
Yes, I am. So air filtration systems and ventilation. Maintaining the indoor environment as a safety as possible has been our priority since the beginning of the pandemic. So we use 100% of the available outside air to introduce that into the classroom environment, and we exhaust the interior air out. That would keep your air fresh and overturned. So air purifier machines have been installed in every room. The filters get replaced when the internal unit itself lets us know through a color change in this monitoring lights. And we have plenty of filters to change those. And then we also need to remind everybody that those filters need to stay in operation 24/7, 7 days a week, so we can keep recirculating the air inside the room and remove any particles that may be in there. Next slide. So right now we're finishing up summer cleaning. Daily cleaning will return to normal as soon as school starts. We have corded Clorox 360 sprayer machines located at every site. And we also have introduced and assigned to each custodian a handheld or cordless disinfecting tool. And as usual, anytime we get word in facilities that there may have been a COVID-19 exposure in an area, we immediately get to the area and disinfect it. Thank you.
Okay, so PPE. So the district will continue to offer PPE at our school sites as indicated, and making sure that they're available for both students as well as staff. So if your mask breaks, we have extra masks at each of the school sites. You just need to go ahead and ask for them. Hand sanitizer stations will continue to be in place at the school sites. Refillable water stations will continue. N95 respiratory masks and training will be available for employees upon request. So if you are requesting an N95 mask, you will, prior to receiving it, you will have to get trained because ensure that it's properly fits. And teachers and identified staff members will also receive and have access to the reusable face shields and neck drapes. So. And gloves are not necessarily recommended, but with a few exceptions, they will still be available. So the district has not changed anything in regards to our PPE. Okay, COVID-19 exposure, I think the biggest thing is if you're sick, stay home. All staff and students will continue. We're reporting confirmed positive cases within our portal. We have a portal there. And so if you're sick, you get up, you make sure you report it. Same thing with our students. We're encouraging our students, go ahead, report it. And that way we can continue to do our contact tracing. So, and let's see the guidelines, the way it works is once it's reported into the system, you will receive a call from our COVID response team, and we will do the follow-up to ensure that if there's any contact tracing, we're also notifying them. And then also if there's any positive cases on a school campus, that we go ahead and properly notify that specific campus of a positive case. So. And let's see, we also have the dashboard. Once information is verified, we go ahead and update the dashboard. On the screen, what you see is a screenshot of our dashboard. We actually, you will report any exposures or also vaccinations. If you are fully vaccinated, it's important that you place that into the system in regards to, so that way when we do our contact tracing, because there's different rules and regulations regarding, or guidelines, there's different guidelines regarding vaccinated and unvaccinated. So it's important that you go ahead and input that information into the system. Okay.
I apologize. So there is information. These slides are the same slides with a couple of additions that will be used with our parents at the parent webinar on Thursday. There is a slide that links to a page that has this information. There are school start and end times there. It's a reminder to encourage folks to finish the family eligibility form. And transportation information can be found there, along with enrollment information. We want to encourage any families that we know that have children to make sure that they are enrolled. And so we want to say thank you all for attending this webinar. At the moment, we are addressing as many questions as we can in the Q&A. So we'll go quiet for a few minutes, and what we're not able to answer, hopefully we will be able to communicate that out to you shortly or soon. Thank you.
Dr. Shea, there are a few questions that were sent to us in advance. So may I take a moment to just read a few of these and see if we can, if these were not answered, we can go through them?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. We have a question, I believe we answered about the furniture that was removed will be put back into the classrooms. Will there be intervention? We will have literacy intervention teachers. Will they be given guidance or training? There is training planned for literacy intervention teachers, and Dr. Fox, Araceli Fox, will be in touch with the teachers and has sent out information. Staff meetings and other meetings continue to be Zoom. Our expectation is that most of our meetings will be happen in person with staff, like staff meetings, etc. But in order to minimize contact, I believe Dr. Torres mentioned that other meetings such as IEPs or SSTs may continue to be on Zoom when appropriate. And I believe that is all the ones that have not been answered. Okay, that's all I have, Dr. Shea.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to stop share. It looks like we still have a couple of answers being typed. So we will give this another couple minutes, but thank you everybody for joining.